Well, Father's Day is just around the corner, and it's usually the holidays. You know, some dads will joke about because of the gifts they might get, the bad cologne, the socks, another tie. The homemade cards are cute, though. But, you know, for black fathers in America, it's no laughing matter because many experts say there's a crisis when it comes to black fathers in this country. Now, a study done by the Pew Research Center says 1 out of every 4 fathers live separately from their children, so there's more than 20 million kids who don't have dad at home, and it gets even more startling by race. 21% of white dads live away from their kids, and the number more than doubles to 44% when you talk about African-American fathers. So we're going to talk about that and just the importance of being a dad. We're happy to have with us 2 special guests. One, actor, author, Tyrese Gibson, joining us from Los Angeles. Also with us, Eric Payne. He's from New York City, now calls Atlanta home. He's written a book called Dad as Easy as ABC, the 26 Do's and Don'ts about being a dad. He's a daddy blogger as well. And to lay everything out there, Eric, he's the father of a 17-year-old stepson. His daughter, toddler, 6 years old, love that age. Tyrese has a 4-going-to-be-5-year-old daughter. So and Eric, I'll start with you. Let's get right to that crisis word. Do you agree with that sentiment, that there's a crisis with black fathers in this country?
I do think that there's a crisis. I mean, it's not anything that I'm interested in sensationalizing, but I do, you know, with that statistic alone, that's something to be concerned about.
Right. It's an eye-opening number. Tyrese, let's hit you on this one, because even if dad is not home, it's about involvement with our kids. I mean, it's about seeing them and talking to them daily and walking through life with them, right?
Right. Well, I mean, listen, I have a saying that excuses sound best to the person that's making them up. And there's plenty of black men in particular who got plenty of excuses as to why they're not involved and more, you know, around their children. But I also want to address this, which a lot of people don't talk about. How often is that black father or father in general reaching out, trying to get access to his kids, and because you're dealing with an ex-wife, girlfriend, mother of your child, fiance, who's now bitter and hostile and angry because the relationship is no longer, who's going above and beyond to use that resentment to block access from the father getting to the child.
So then that speaks to, and I want to hit both of you, but Tyrese, I'll stay with you. We as dads, and especially it sounds like in the African-American community, have to fight for our kids, have to fight for time with our kids because we know how important it is, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's so many black fathers that are locked up and in prison. That's why we're amongst the lost generation. I think ultimately, if you don't have a father to look up to, then you're gonna probably gravitate towards the most prominent, influential black male in your neighborhood, and they end up being influenced by the Crips, the Bloods, and the thugs that are in their neighborhood because they're looking for someone to look up to.
Wow. And Eric, what Tyrese is talking about is so important, the influence. And especially when you talk about growing boys, the sons that we have. Number one, is dad the good role model? And if dad isn't around, then who is the role model? Who is the one that young man is looking up to be like down the road?
Right. Well, it takes a village. I mean, no doubt, even with dad in the picture. So I think sometimes that you have to corral in the pastor or the uncles, if there are uncles, the older cousins. You just bring in that village experience, or even family friends that are males that feel that they, you know, you need to ask those people to step up and get involved to shape this child.
Tyrese, in the black community, do men challenge other men to be the dads they need to be and help them in that process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been a part of those type of conversations. I've had many of those conversations. Like I said, excuses sound best to the person that's making them up. If you go above and beyond to do any means necessary as a father to get access to your kids, even if you got to go through the court system. Most black fathers don't want to go to court to fight for them kids because they got other cases pending. So why would you want to go to court to fight for your kids? I think ultimately you are supposed to do any means necessary, because when you don't, as a black father, get involved in your little girls' lives or your little boys' lives specifically, then you're adding to the lost generation.
Wow. Eric, let's get you to weigh in on that one and weigh in on men rallying around other men to be the dad he needs to be. How important is that? That influence for you as a dad?
Right. I mean, it's critical. I mean, that's why I have a blog. It started out as a personal therapy for myself, but what I realized in time was that it was becoming a resource, albeit online. And, you know, it's critical to have that face-to-face conversation, but it's critical to have a group conversation about this. You have to get in someone's face and say, look, this is your responsibility. You need to step up, because it's not about you and whatever happened with the person that preceded, you know, the creation of this child. It's about creating, you know, a loving, nurturing environment for this next future adult citizen of the community of the United States.
You know what?
Strong, vibrant young man and young woman.
Quick.
Go ahead, Tyrese.
I want to add to that and say, first of all, before we go, I know we're mainly focusing on this particular topic, but for all of the real fathers around the world that's watching this, I just want to say thank you for contributing to the education and having a real presence, being that father that goes to classrooms and read to your kids' classmates, the ones that are involved. We may not end up in the press and the media every day with the involvement that we have in our kids' lives, but we are there. And salute to you early for Father's Day. Keep it going. We need you. And if you know that you're of a friend who's a deadbeat father, do what you got to do to have those conversations to encourage him to be more involved, because it's only the kids that suffer in the end when they don't have a father in their presence.
Tyrese, well put. Amen to that, because the seeds we plant now as dads will bear much fruit later on that we may not see right now. Hey, we've hit on some serious stuff here, obviously, and that's a good thing. Before I let each of you guys go, and Tyrese, I'll start with you, give me that dad moment that you remember. As this Sunday comes and you might get that bad pair of socks, give me the dad moment you remember that just almost brings a tear to your eye.
You know what? Me and my daughter have such an amazing relationship. I want to send a big shout out to President Obama for how involved he is with his kids. You know, he has created, as a black man, he has created the new standard in fatherhood. How can you be the president of the United States and still have an amazing relationship with your kids? It's removed all the excuses that any black man could ever have. Wow. Period.
Good stuff.
But me and my daughter have the best relationship. I love her. As busy as I am, I always go above and beyond to make time. And her 5th birthday is coming up, and the theme is Willy Wonka.
I love it. I love it. I love those ages. Going to be 5. Eric, you have a 6-year-old. You got a dad moment you want to share?
Sure. I mean, I agree with Tyrese's sentiments 100%. I think that for me, watching my son graduate from 8th grade, and recently my daughter, she danced in a performance on the Rialto stage. She led a dance performance with a packed house. And, you know, I had no problem letting the tears well up in my eyes. You know, fathers are hiding in plain sight everywhere, doing what they're supposed to do in the classrooms, to dropping their kids off, getting them involved with sports and all of that kind of thing. And as well, I'd like to salute those people as well, because we're everywhere, and, you know, we're just trying to do what we're supposed to do for our children.
Hey, great conversation, you guys. Tyrese, thank you. Eric, you as well.
Thank you.
Really important stuff as we encourage each other as fathers, no matter what, because that's
salute to all the fathers,
greatest job
for sure.
out
Definitely.
there, man. Okay, guys, thanks again so much.
Thank you.